question I want you to ask yourself is, what are you good at? Think of it like this. If you want a job in retail, have you ever gone shopping before? Apply those things. Is it easier and more helpful when someone comes to you and helps you out while you shop? Even if you sometimes want to be left alone, when you do want to ask for information, you want the person talking to you to know what they're talking about. Find something that's going to be applicable to you. If you're already spending half your time studying makeup tutorials on YouTube and whatnot, why not get in the field? You already have major knowledge on this subject, and they're going to want someone like you, right? Doesn't that make sense to you? So the third thing I wanted to talk about was the resume. Now, it's so stressful when someone comes in and hands in a resume and they don't even know what to put on them. You look through these resumes and there's nothing there that is really going to help me understand the person that they are. It's just a huge chunk of information as the biography sort of area, like the top information where you should be putting. And then it goes on to experience that's not even relevant to the job. So, say I was trying to hire you for, I don't know, a dental position. Like I wanted to hire you as a dental receptionist. Have you had any experience that's relatable? You might have on your resume that you clean toilets for 7 months. That's not going to help me. How is that going to help me? Now, what I want you to do is go through your resume, think of everything that you've done that could possibly be applicable to this job. Say, for example, at school, your teacher walked out of the class and she left you in charge for a few minutes. Now, that is going to show leadership. It means that they can trust you. And even though it's not a work position that, you experience something in, mention that in your bio. Like, mention that you have been trusted in a certain way where others weren't. You were chosen. Now, this can apply to anything. Say at home you have brothers and sisters and you have a few experiences where you've had to do a certain thing. Now, I'm not saying write your whole life story, tell them everything, but just use keywords. Say things like, I've been left in charge of research. Say your grandmother or your mum needed something for the house and you said, hold on a moment, I can Google that. That is putting your skills to the test. Now, you can definitely mention that in your resume. Obviously, you don't have to say, oh, this person and said that person and this person and said that person. No. But most importantly, you have to mention things like, okay, I was left in charge of this. That shows leadership and it shows knowledge. So don't be afraid of putting in those keywords in your bio. Now, going on to experience. This is why work experience is super important. You definitely want to make the most of it because that's going to be your first job that you're going to have on your resume. Making a good connection with the people that hired you is also super important because you need a reference. For your first resume, you're going to have no one but a personal contact. How are they meant to trust you? How are they meant to believe that everything on your resume is true? They need to call up references, and it's super important to have someone that can say, look, yes, this person worked for me doing this, and they were good at this. They can maybe improve on this, but generally, they were really good. So that's what you want as well. Definitely don't waste the opportunity of work experience because for the people that have, it's going to be so hard to get a job. You also want to keep your resume short. When I say short, I don't mean like half a page. I mean 2 pages max. Really easy to read. You want to block out, say, having a list of things going on and on and on. Definitely at least highlight the top in bold, like highlight it in titles. Have, for example, your address, like personal information labeled up the top, and then go on to say such and such. Experience labeled up the top, and then go and say all the experience that you've had. That is my soundest advice. It's the worst when I get a resume that I can't even read because it just goes on and on. I don't know how to go down to a certain point, read what I need to read, and that's it, and be done with it. So definitely separate it into clear titles, whether it's bordered, whether it's like a different color, or whether it's just bold and the rest is just regular writing. That is my be all and end all of resumes. The fourth thing on the list is your cover letter. Some jobs may need cover letters, and even if they don't, if you're applying online and you haven't written a cover letter, it's going to just be swished to the right. No one's going to pay attention to it because you haven't clearly stated in a very simple format why it is that you want this particular job. 2 rules. First of all, do not just copy and paste a cover letter. It needs to be very personalized for the specific company that you want to work for. Say I wanted to work at Sephora. My cover letter would, dear hiring manager, yada, yada, yada. I have been to the Sephora store, blah, blah, blah. I would love to be a part of a team that is so, knowledgeable, or use nice words. Nice words don't mean big, confusing words. They mean things that you would use in a conversation, but that sound a bit smarter. So that's rule number 1. Definitely customize it to each and every individual company that you apply for. Rule number 2 is to remember these companies get hundreds, if not thousands, of applications. So you have to be a point of difference. Take your time to really emphasize what you want to say in a short period of time. They don't have time to read your whole resume, so your cover letter has to be on fleek, right? Do you get it? If you do want more information about how to write a cover letter, definitely come to me. I'll give you an example of mine, and at least then you can sort of mimic what I've written. The 5th thing on the list. Now, a lot of people don't do this anymore. It's not common knowledge to do this, and I think I'm so lucky to have been introduced to this idea. It is a letter of recommendation. Now, when you're going into stores, store to store to store, they've seen it all before. You walk in, here's my resume, not even excited, there you go. Now, you're not going to write a cover letter for that resume. Cover letters are more based online, and that is that. But what is going to help you is a letter of recommendation. Like I said before, maybe you've helped someone in the past, like maybe a gym teacher. You've gone ahead and nominated yourself to be cleaning the gym or whatnot. I don't know. Find a teacher you like. Find a teacher that likes you. Someone that you can relate to and would understand your point of view. Ask them to write you a letter of recommendation. Or maybe someone you know has a business and you've worked like 2-3 hours just to pick up someone else's slack. Well, that's someone that can write you a letter of recommendation as well. These are super helpful because even if half the time people don't read them, they kind of go, ooh, a letter of recommendation. That sounds very profesh. So that's something to consider as well. The 6th thing is your references. Now, make sure you're contacting your references before you popping them down. Make sure they are aware that you are applying to jobs, because the last thing you want your reference to do is go, okay, oh, who? I don't remember this person. That would sound horrible if I called someone for a reference and they didn't even know who that person was, or they couldn't even remember, or they were too busy to even care. That is a bad sign. Now, what you need to do is contact them and politely say, hi, I don't know if you remember me. I worked in such and such at this time. I was wondering if I could pop you down for my reference. If they say yes, I'd love to, you already know that they're going to boast about you and say such great things. So that's the type of person that you want on your resume. Putting in a reference that is personal as well, that is completely fine. I don't think, though, it should be your mother or father or grandmother or grandfather, because that's really biased. Maybe you know someone that is a family friend or a cousin, someone a bit more distant. So you definitely want someone that is going to have your back, but be honest as well, because it's not a problem to hear on the other line that, hey, this person was late a few times, but you know what? They picked up their slack and they've improved on that. What we want is someone that's going to be honest, but not brutally honest. So the next thing is walking in and how you should tackle that fear of going in and asking for a manager. I still to this day get butterflies and get nervous, and it's all a scary experience, but everyone else does. The difference is knowing how to overcome that, knowing and realizing that you might be a bit nervous, but you can even tackle that. So walking in is super important. Walking in is going to let the manager know that you really, number one, care about this job enough to know that they're hiring. So you got to make sure that they're hiring. If not, then there is a whole different strategy. If they are hiring, you want to do your research about the brand. You want to know who to talk to if that's physically available to you online or whatnot. Then you need to prepare a short sort of speech. If you really care about this job, show that. When you walk in, don't just jump into, hey, I've got a resume. Are you guys hiring? Thanks. That is something that so many girls do, and it just does not work. And they come in wearing tights, wearing their gym clothes. Now, I'm not going to have someone working at my shop if they're wearing gym clothes, correct? So why would I want to hire them if I see that that's the only thing they're capable of? Or even if they haven't even bothered to put in effort to come in and apply. Now, when you go in, smile, ask how the day is going, make conversation, see how busy they've been. Ask questions that if you were working there, you'd ask the same questions. When you walk into a shift, the first thing you go, oh, has it been busy? So ask things like that. Have a conversation before you say, look, I've got my resume, blah, blah, blah. Now, don't keep your resumes all stacked up, piled up, like they're just another store that you're applying to. Who cares if I get this one? I'll just try the next one. So prepare one resume for each store. Have a bag with you that is not going to scrunch up your resumes. Also, another important bit is to put it in a file, like those little thin files that keep the papers safe. They're called letter files. You can get about 20 or 50 for like $7 or $8 from Officeworks, and they work wonders. They're clear, they're easy, you can even see the resume through them. Now, keeping them in a bag is super important as well, because you're going to walk in, and if you have a piece of paper that's A4 in your hand, they're going to know what you want straight away. And if they're having a bad day and they can't be bothered, the first thing they're going to do is go, oh, another person trying to get a job here. Now, that's not what you want. So, you're going to walk in, like I said, have a chat, and then say, sorry, I was also wondering, is your manager in? Just like it just came to you, oh, there's an idea. Let's get the manager out. If they do have the manager there, perfect. Go right ahead and ask for the manager. Wait for them to come out or bring them to you. And once you see the manager, introduce yourself. Now, I've done this once where I forgot to even introduce myself because I was just so nervous and excited. Introduce yourself, shake their hand, put your hand out. They will not say no. Now, shake their hand and say, hi, I'm blah, blah, blah. I was wondering if you guys were hiring at all. I was just talking to this person, blah, 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 blah. Try and get that other person's name. And it seems like it's a really good place to work. So, if that's for if you don't know what the job is, if you don't even know if they're hiring or not, and if you know nothing about the company. They're not going to on the spot ask you all this information. They're going to wait for the interview to ask you if you know anything about the company. And it's fair game. They've given you a chance to go home and say, all right, I've got an interview, let's prepare. So what you want to do is introduce yourself, like I said, and hand over that resume ready for them to read. Turn it over facing them so they can read it straight away and they don't have to fiddle around with it. That's for you to do. You're working for them. Make their life easier from day one and they will remember you forever. Now, when you walk out of there, say thank you. Don't forget to say thank you to the soon-to-be colleague if you get the job. Now, you want to end that on a very good note. Not like they don't matter just because you've spoken to the manager already and they're just peasants. No, they matter too. They have a lot of say as to what they think about you. Every time I have ever hired anyone, I have always asked the person who was there to see them, what do you think of this person? Do you think they could be a potential person to hire? Those things are super important. So making a good impression on everyone that's working there on the day is the most important thing. Now, as I was saying before, what you're wearing is super important. Wear something clean. It doesn't have to look like a uniform. You don't have to be all in black. If it is a retail job, it's super important that you remember to be stylish, but not with, like, say, a crop top. I know crop tops can be in fashions at times, but it doesn't mean that it's work environment safe. Some places don't even let you wear shorts. So you've got to remember, like wearing a nice pair of jeans and a nice button down jacket, a t shirt underneath, just really cash but neat cash is going to go a long way because it shows them that you know how to present yourself. And that is the first thing that a customer is going to see, and it's super important for them.